We're nearly going out then. Little Lenny. 13 years is a long time, innit? That's how long we've been travelling on the road, and during that 13 years we've learned what to do, what not to do. So in this video we thought we'd take all kind of that experience of the 13 years and condense it into one video so that you don't make our mistakes. And there's one thing that kind of we came up with that ultimately described, if we could go back 13 years and know that from the start, we'd do that. So we're going to get to that, but we're going to talk to you about, just in front of Lenny, just a chat with a brew, about all the things that we've learned over the years that we think will be really, really beneficial for you if you're already doing van life, or you're starting van life, or you're worried about van life. So that's what we're going to do on this Cosy Fireside Friday.
So what's the first thing you not need to worry about? I'm to giving you advice. Look, and I've got a Christmas Santa bobbling, and you've got to take me seriously. The first thing I think is, if you're worrying about park-ups, just don't. Don't worry about park-ups. You don't need campsites. If you're worrying about wild camping and the blue signs and all that sort of stuff, and whether, you know, you're going to be able to find somewhere to stay, just don't worry about it. There will always be somewhere that you can park up. It's not a concern. It's not that difficult. We've done so many vlogs on that, so I'm not going to go into it all deeply now, because we've done so many vlogs on it in the past that you can just go back and have a look at those. But there are so many different things out there to help you with that, with the new immersion of the GeoSpot, with the parking apps that there are out there to help you with it. You don't need to worry about park-ups. You will always find somewhere to stay.
Using your jumper to... he's just bit me.
We need to get some fire
on?
gloves. We need some fire gloves, don't we? Heat-proof gloves.
So what is it we've actually learned in 13 years on the road? And me and Emma spent ages kind of reflecting ourselves on what is it we've actually learned, because it kind of creeps in over the years. Got something in my eye. And you don't always realise what you're learning along the way. And one of the things that came up when we were chatting about it is, if you can't do full-time van life, don't worry about that. So if you're sat there thinking, oh no, but I couldn't do full-time van life. We didn't used to always live like this. So we had a van for way back for many years where we'd just go on a weekend, and we had the most epic weekends you can possibly imagine. And there's this real thing in van life. 99.9% of the van life community are awesome. They're lovely people. But there is this kind of thing that drips in, especially on social media groups and things like that, where if you're not full-time, you're not a van lifer. And please, 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 just ignore all that. Van life is about you doing it in your way. So if it means that you know, worked a really hard week, and then you comes to Friday and you load the van up and you head off into the Dales or up into the Lake District, that's okay. Don't let that put you off, because you do you when it comes to van life. That's the thing with van life. There is no right or wrong way of doing it. We need to get some acorns. Everybody's saying to get some acorns. We're going to get some this week. Go on an acorn hunt for little Lenny. We need to do that. There he goes. Go on, Lenny.
Yeah, Reese is right about it not mattering if you're full-time. Van life is in here. It's in the heart. It's not in the vehicle that you're in or anything, or like how many days a week you do it, or, you know, whereabouts you travel, whether it's UK abroad. It's not about that. It's about what's in here. It's definitely like a kind of a calling, I think, more than what else. And so the next thing is, have we ever had the knock? The famous knock, being told to move on. No, we've never had the knock. Not once. We've never had the knock. We've never been told to move on. I think it does come down to obviously picking where you're parking. You know, if you're going to ignore the signs that are put up everywhere, then yeah, you probably are going to get a knock. But we've never had it. Just be sensible where you choose to park. Just think about it. Look at the reviews on Park for Night, the latest reviews. See if anything's changed. See if there's any issues. And just kind of, there's so many places. You can always move on to another place if that place has got bad reviews on it, you know. We've had to move on ourselves once. Which is just kind of due to, you know, having a bit of a bad feeling about what were going on once we'd parked up and people pulling up in cars and things like that. But we've never actually been told to move on. So do not worry about that happening, because I know you see it on social media all the time. You see it on YouTube channels all the time. I don't know where these people are that are getting knocked by police constantly and told to move on, because it just hasn't happened to us in 13 years. So that is one thing that I would just put out of your mind. Don't let it put you off wild camping, wild parking, whatever you want to call it. Don't let it put you off. Just do it, because once you've done it once, those worries that you have, that fear, that kind of like feeling of being nervous, which we had when we first started doing it, it goes bit by bit by bit. You know, you build your confidence up on it, and bit by bit that feeling just kind of disappears, that concern goes. So don't worry about it, put it out your mind, go out there, enjoy your park ups, enjoy your beautiful views, and just be respectful. It's as simple as that, really.
And that is a part of it, is being respectful. Like, that's one thing that we learned pretty much straight away when we started our van life journey, but always leave no trace, and always leave the place, if you can, tidier than when you arrived. So take a litter picker, take a bag, tidy the place up. That's what we do, and we learned that pretty quickly. But the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, again, all this kind of came up in discussion, and it's been quite interesting for us to reflect on what have we actually learned along the way, because we didn't always get it right. And one of the things that we learned was that you don't always need kind of expensive cookers and things like that in a van. Like, when we first started van life, we literally, it was pretty much a mattress in the back of a Renault Traffic. And then we went to a Mercedes Sprinter. We had a couple of like vans in between. We had a 1950s Comet and a 1980s, I think, Motorhome. But our main kind of vans, if you've watched us before, you'll know that story. I don't want to kind of get into that too much and overlap too much here. But yeah, our Mercedes Sprinter, it had a full cooker, and then we got a black Renault Traffic, and that were like a state-of-the-art, modern, nothing like Romany is now, and it had kind of a cooker. But one thing we've learned along the way, which for as long as you've been watching Romany Pirates, if you've been following us, we've always had griddle kettle on a little stove like this. And so the point there is, you don't always need the latest fancy gadgets and getting your gas bottles fitted and all that kind of stuff. We just have Gretel the kettle, and then we just keep these little gas bottles in here, and that does us. And especially now that we've got Lenny, we can cook on Lenny.
Yeah, you don't need all this fancy stuff, right? If you've got it, fine, not against it. But you don't need all this fancy stuff in a van. I've seen so many people where you're watching like them filming their YouTube process, and they're years before they're actually getting out on the road. Just think about how many adventures you're missing out on while you're doing that. We don't have a shower in Romany. We have a cassette toilet, but we also use public toilets. We use public showers.
We use public taps.
We use public taps. We don't have like a massive water storage container. We've got a small water storage container. There are pros and cons to all that sort of stuff and having that sort of stuff in, but the less that you have in terms of like these big water tanks to have a, you know, in order to have a massive shower, the less weight you've got in your van. That, you know, that's a huge benefit then. It means you can have more of your own stuff that you want in your van. And there are so many public facilities, especially in Europe, but also in the UK as well. There are so many public facilities that you can use that you don't need to worry about that. And one of the things that we were kind of talking about is what we've learned over the years is we've done vans where we've kind of like thrown into it everything that we need to get done before we've been setting off on a trip to Europe. We'd be like, got to get it done, we've got to get it perfect. Especially when the kids were little, it was like a thing in my head of this has to be perfect before we set off. We have to get it done. You know, we've just bought this van, we have to get it perfect. When you do that and you rush, you put things in places where it don't work for you later down the line. So, you know, the best adventures you're probably going to have is literally sticking a mattress in the back of your van and just taking off with a little gas stove, and you'll be sorted. You don't need to have an Instagram van. You really don't. You don't need to worry about that. Just enjoy it for the journey and the ride, and figure it out as you're going along, because your van will develop with you and your travelling habits and your living habits as you're going along.
And you don't need £1 million either. The amount of comments we get where people sort of say, yeah, but you need a lot of money to start van life. And you don't. And we know you don't, because we didn't start with a lot of money. God, back then we had literally hardly anything. We had enough money to buy a little, I think we spent £3,000 on a little Renault Traffic. And we just went for it, and we did it in our way. But you definitely don't need, you know, a lot of money behind you to start van life. As long as you can scrape together enough for your first little van and just your essentials that you need, you can join in on this epic adventure. So it's a bit of a misconception that you need a lot of money behind you to start van life, or even to do van life, because you absolutely don't.
And talking about money, some people are really worried about, you know, well, I haven't really got enough money to be able to be going off abroad and taking my van off to wherever and travelling around Canada or whatever, you know, or I haven't got, you know, enough time to be able to do that either. You don't need to go far. You don't need to go far to have the best adventures. That's something that we learned much later on down the line in van life. And if you watch us, you're like, yeah, but, you know, you kind of like you'll go up to Scotland when you've been down south or whatever. That's just how we are and how we travel. You don't have to do that. You know, you can literally be going off. When we used to go off on weekends, we'd be going half an hour up the road or whatever, you know, and so we still had, you know, older teenagers at home that were in college and things, in university and things like that, and so we wouldn't necessarily be going off for long periods of time, and you've got to be able to get back. So we'd just go off to close by places. You know, sometimes we do that even now, like around Christmas time and things, when we want to visit family. We're not going off for miles and miles and miles and taking, you know, a 2-hour journey up to the top of Scotland or whatever. That sort of thing can really frighten people. Driving abroad can really frighten people. Just take it a step at a time. Just go where you want to go. Start going the places that you already know, that you've already been to before, like you were going off for the day to have a picnic somewhere. But just go off, park up, enjoy a night, come back home. You know, take it a step at a time. You don't need loads of money. You don't need to travel far. You can have the most epic adventures on your doorstep. Stop faffing with Lenny and tell him next.
I know, I'm just looking, Emma, to make sure he's not going out. Do you like my t-shirt? This isn't our merch. My mate bought me it. This guy loves custard creams. But yeah, talking of Lenny, actually, it's a good point for this next thing. So heating. Now, heating, most van lifers will immediately put heating in, and it can be expensive. Lenny wasn't cheap. We saved like mad for ages for Lenny. And diesel heaters I don't know much about diesel heaters because I don't like them, but I'm guessing it's not the cheapest thing, right? And so if you're going with this mindset of, oh, I'm just going to start before I've got the perfect van, then you don't need heating. And I know that's a really controversial thing to say, but we literally, in 13 years, have never ever had a heating system in a van until we got Little Lenny. So Little Lenny is our first proper source of heating. And we came up with ways throughout the years that made us warm in the most extreme conditions up in Scotland in the middle of winter. Hot water bottles, blankets, your 12-volt kind of heated mat things, your blanket things, candles under like a dome, the old kind of terracotta thing of putting a hole in and it heats that up. Gretel the kettle on her own kind of heated the van. It's just that we got to a stage where we'd saved and saved and saved and saved, and eventually we could get Little Lenny, because obviously that's better than all those things. But it's not absolutely essential. And so that's one thing that we've learned being on the road over the years, is that heating isn't actually essential. As long as you've got hot water bottles, a kettle, you know, 12-volt plug-in thing, like I say, there's ways of keeping yourself warm. A good sleeping bag will do it. You know, a good sleeping bag. I keep saying, you know, I love watching Nomad Sam now. You know, Nomad Sam will get a little fire going, and he's got a decent tent and a sleeping bag. And so imagine then that inside a van, like, it's not as cold as what you'd think, and you do get used to it. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I want, you know, to start my adventures, I'd need XY heating. We didn't, and we didn't for 13 years. We've only just recently got Little Lenny, haven't we? So, you know, we spent all that time just jumpers, plenty of layers on, you know, hot water bottles, getting into bed early, reading a book, that kind of thing. So don't let that put you off, don't.
And I do think Reese is right in terms of it's not essential. But there are certain things that are essential to keeping warm. You know, it's not something to mess about with. It can be dangerous if it gets too cold, and depending on where you live in the country and things like that. So you do need to think very carefully about it. But making sure that you insulate your van properly, making sure it's well insulated, will really help you in terms of keeping warm. A lot of people, including us, will actually say that they have to turn the heating off on a night time because it's just too warm. You know, we couldn't have Lenny burning on a night time. It's way too warm. And so we have to sleep just with our duvet. You know, making sure you've, like Reese says, a good sleeping bag, kind of a mat underneath you that keeps the cold away, you know, keeping those barriers, keeping layered up, making sure that you've got insulation really well in your van. That's one key tip that I would definitely say. Even if you're just chucking the mattress in the back of a van, take the boards off the van first and insulate it thoroughly. That's the only thing that I would definitely say you should be doing before you kind of getting on the road, because that's about safety in terms of keeping you cool when it's red hot and keeping you warm when it's freezing. Those are really kind of important things to do. And just know yourself, like, be sensible about it. If you're really cold, if it's too cold for you, then go back home or whatever, you know, get yourself to somewhere where you can be warm and figure out, right, what are we going to bring in to make sure that we're warm. Don't go to bed absolutely freezing, because obviously that's not sensible either. But, you know, we've managed all these years. And I think there's certain things, and the reason we're kind of doing this, I suppose, is because there are certain things that we've learned over these years that all really culminate into one thing, I suppose, which is what we could do if we could go back in time and tell ourselves. And that's all this stuff that we've just been talking to you about now. If we could go back in time and say, don't wait, like, don't wait, just do it. Like we would do, we'd go back in time, we'd say that to ourselves, because this is way better than doing your standard 9 to 5 and your stress and all the stuff that comes with that. Doesn't mean we don't work, because we do, before we get all that in the comments. It's about going back. If we could go back in time and tell ourselves something, it would be just go for it. Just go for it. Just don't give up. Just, you know, start that dream. Start it from that moment. Take that first step, however small it is, and just go for it, because it is way better than doing the 9 to 5. It really is. The stress that comes with all of the other things that you have in life, you know, when we do own a house, people who watch us know that we own a cottage, you know, that's part of our income stream. But in kind of just getting up every morning, which we've done for years in the past, getting up every morning at like 6 o'clock, and it's dark, and you're putting your makeup on, or you're getting yourself dressed or whatever to go to work, and you're going outside and it's dark, and you're battling through the traffic to get to work, working all day, it's freezing cold, you're coming home, you know, spending time with the kids just before they go to bed, and again, just to get up and do the whole thing again the next day. Like, we've done vlogs on this, so I'm not going to go on about it, but now, this life that we live with less things, needing less things, learning what you really need to have in life, what's really important to you, not wasting money on things, choosing what you want to spend things on, gives you the opportunity to choose the most important thing in your life, which is what you want to spend your time on. It gives you that opportunity to choose, what do I want to spend my time on? Some of that will be working and doing things to earn money. Other things, it's going to be just being out there, adventuring, waking up in a different place every day, deciding to, you know, not battle through the traffic at 7 o'clock in the morning, but to leisurely take a nice drive at 7 o'clock in the evening and enjoy your next journey and where you're going. You know, all of that sort of stuff. If I could go back in time and say, just do it. And I was the one that was holding us back for years, kind of trying to be more prepared, trying to make sure that we'd got ourselves financially sorted. And I know there is all of that stuff to consider. But if I could have done it sooner with less and just gone for it, then I would do. Before I'm putting it on Reese, I'm just going to show you my pixie boots. Do you like them? Aren't they cool? I wear the most idiotic shoes to be in a van, you know, suede pixie boots. But I love them. They're right Christmassy. I feel like an elf. Anyway, what were you going to say that were really important?
I was going to say, it's meant to be, so the title of this is meant to be 13 years, we'll tell you in 20 minutes, and I bet we're on about half an hour, aren't we? But never mind. It is what it is. It is what it is. No, I was going to say as well, like, it makes you freer in your mind. It allows you to be more minimalistic, and it allows you to be freer in your mind. Your mindset becomes calmer and your mindset becomes free. And like Emma was saying, like, you know, we do work, and of course you need an income, but it allows you to be more creative with your income. It allows you to not need as much income, obviously, because you haven't got as many outgoings and things like that. But it also allows you to be really creative in the ways that you earn money. And we are going to do a vlog, I keep saying this, we are going to do a vlog in depth on how we earn money. But it allows you to think outside the box of the normal 9 to 5, and in doing that, it allows you to be free, and the appreciation that you have for things just magnifies. You know, every tree, every little sing-song from a little budgie outside and stuff like that just
every
allows
drop of water that
every
you
drop
get,
of water,
everything you
everything,
appreciate.
every drop of water, you know, whether that's from a public tap or whether that's from a rain, it's you appreciate every little thing in life, because life just becomes so much simpler. And so that appreciation, as life becomes simpler, that appreciation goes up. And so yes, you need to work, yes, you need an income, but it allows you to really think about what you want that income to be how you're going to get it and how much you're actually going to need out.
Get him on, quick.
Come on, Lenny.
Come on.
Lenny's
We
gone
need
out.
some proper wood blocks, that's why.
We need some acorns. Everybody's screaming at us to get some
We're doing
acorns.
things like half-assed.
You see, I think as well, this is how we were always supposed to live. I don't think, and this is just a personal opinion, I've not written it down in a book or not like that, but I am, Emma. But I think this is how we were supposed to live. What Nomad Sam's doing, you know, and I love that guy. Is quickly becoming my favourite YouTuber because he's the pinnacle. Is that a word?
Yes.
Is the
Well
pinnacle
done, Reese.
of how I think human beings were supposed to live. You know, living simply. You know, I was going to say chopping wood, but if anybody's watched me try and chop wood, I'm not very good at it. But the idea of chopping your own wood,
being
and
at
that
one
whole
with the earth,
primal,
innit?
yeah, it's primal stuff, and I think that is what van life gives you. And if I could go back and tell myself that 13 years ago, that's kind of what I'd tell myself: is that your mind will become calmer, you'll become simpler. Yes, nothing's for free in this world, is it? Although Nomad Sam, you know, he kind of walks around woods, he does go shopping and stuff, but you know, it's a really good, cheap way to live, isn't it? And an exciting one at that. But nothing's free in life. Nothing's free in van life. You know, you need your fuel and your insurance and all the rest of it. And so you do need to earn an income. But as I was saying, it is how you earn the income that's the difference. That's the major difference. And it just brings you back down to this primal state of being, where I always think we were never meant to be in offices. Well, we look at it scientifically. Human beings were never meant to be sat behind a desk being strangled by a tie. You know, we're supposed to always be out in nature, watching the sunsets and the sunrises and listening to the birds and keeping fit just by walking through a forest, he says. But like, you know, all that kind of stuff is what van life gives you, and that's what it's taught us for 13 years. It's been teaching us that more and more and more until you almost get this everyone's going to be screaming at the word here now. This enlightenment sounds a bit too like a guru, and I'm not a guru, but it's a bit like you've come to a realization of, so this is what life is supposed to be about.
That was really in depth.
I know, wasn't it?
That was so deep. I will just say though, I'm just going to jump in and say that it didn't mean it makes you simpler, because I don't think I've got simple over time. I think it meant it makes life simpler. You said you become simpler. I don't think you'd become simpler. Life becomes simpler.
It's my dyslexia.
I'm not simple.
I get my words mixed up.
I think you were just calling me simple then. That's what you were doing.
It's debatable, isn't it?
It was a bit of a backstab way of calling me simple.
It's debatable.
Emma, you simpleton. No, I think you're absolutely right. It just brings you, there is a realisation that comes over time with it. There really is. And I think that's why you recognise other people. I had a conversation today with a couple that had sold their house and were living full-time in a van. And you recognise these people straight away. I'm not kind of an airy-fairy person, I suppose is how I'd put it, but I do think there is a spiritualness about people that you meet that kind of spend a lot of time in a van. I don't mean they maybe live full-time, but have spent a lot of time sort of travelling in a van and living more at one with the earth and stuff like that. There is a kind of a spiritual connection almost that you have with those people. You immediately kind of connect with somebody without even knowing that that's what they do, and then it comes out in that conversation. And I think that's because you're learning things about yourself along the way. You're going on a personal journey along the way, whether that be because your van's broken and you've had a meltdown about it and you're trying to figure stuff out, or, you know, whether it be because you've got stuck somewhere in your van and you can't get it. There's all sorts of different challenges that you come across, you know, running out of water. There's lots of different challenges that you come across, but you're learning things about yourself along the way. And health-wise, being at one with nature is a massive, massive thing. You know, you can take your shoes off, walk on the earth outside, stuff like that. It's a massive thing. So health-wise, I think it's really good for you because you've not got as much stress. You've not got as much kind of pressure on you. You're able to be more at one with the earth. You're able to do more physical things, like, you know, you're kind of making things and doing things. And all of that stuff's good for the mind, isn't it? It's all part of mindfulness, isn't it? What we now call mindfulness. But years ago, it wasn't called mindfulness. It was just called living, wasn't it? And van life brings you back to living.
And is van life epic? Yeah. It really is. Does it always look like Instagram? No, it don't. You know, it don't always look like Instagram where it's like this perfect life. It has its ups and downs, and it's hard sometimes. And sometimes you wake up and you think, oh, you know, because there's little quirky things in van life that you would take for granted in a house that you don't have in a van. And so, you know, it's not all roses, but it's an epic life. And it's, I think, looking back over 13 years, if I could give myself advice going back or give anybody else advice that's looking for it from me, don't know why you'd be doing that, then it'd be that it's not about the van. It's not about the van. It's about the memories and the adventures that life takes you when you're living in a van. There's a difference there. And so I think I'd go back and say to myself, don't worry about the van, don't worry about having it perfect, because the memories and the adventures that you're going to make when you're on this epic, epic journey, that's what it's about. It's not about the van. Van life isn't about the van, which is kind of the other way around, isn't it? But it's not. It's about the adventures. It's about the memories. And that, ultimately, is what 13 years of travelling in a van has taught us, is that it's about the journey. What's that saying, Emma, where they say, oh, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
That's the one.
And that's the one.
You're on
I
fire
am on
tonight,
fire
you with
tonight.
words and,
Like,
and sayings.
literally, it is red hot in here. But that's what it is. Like, you know, it's about that journey. It's the people we've met on the road. I'll never forget some of them. The places that it's taken us to living in this way, I'll never forget. I'm not particular. I love Romany, and what I won't say we, because I'm not very good at DIY. What Emma's built here in this little home on wheels is beyond my wildest imagination. The van that we started with to the van Romany that we've got now is epic, but it's still not about the van. I would still enjoy it as much, I think, if I just had a mattress in the back of the van. That's me personally, because it's about that open road, and it's about what's around that next corner, and it's about the endless adventure that we call van life. So with that said, we asked you to name the little fan. We're gonna do that. We're gonna show you the storage solution, which is behind me, in a second, but Emma wants to give a solution. Not solution. Oh God, my words.
You've broken
I've
it
broken
now.
the
You were doing
mood.
so good.
Oh, she wants to give her perspective.
Yeah, because I think it is slightly different. I don't know if that's a male-female thing or, you know, I don't know. But I do think it is slightly different. I think, you know, personally, I like to kind of make home. You know, I like to feel cosy. I like to make home. But I think that, I couldn't go back to just like, let's chuck a mattress in a van and take off, right? I wouldn't want to go back to doing that. But what I would do is to say I'd rather start off like that, which we basically did anyway, and then build it up like we have done. Because I think I suppose to me, the van is part of it, and a big part of it for me. But that's because it's a part of me learning to do things over time as well. So, you know, and a part of me creating something that feels like a home, do you know? So I think for me, the van is important, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think, and you see, Reese says the van's not important, but every time we sell a van, he literally is like so heartbroken and he don't want to get rid of it because of the connection of that van to the memories of where we've been and what we've done and how it's kind of served us over that time. But I do think that the van is important, but I don't think that it's in the way of you need this perfect thing to travel in. I think it's in the way of you grow with that van. You grow with it. Your adventures, your memories are tied up within it, and you grow it into something that you want it to do. It organically grows into something that fills your heart with joy. And so that's why I think it's a big part of it. But like I say, I don't think you need loads of money to be able to do that. You just don't. You just take your time, a bit at a time. And it's better if you do that anyway, because it becomes a part of you.
Look what Emma's been doing. So we've got our little Romany Pirates mascot.
Oh, put my lights on.
Yeah, that's not often shown because he usually lives in front, but he's holding on to light, Emma.
He's swinging. Right, let me put my lights on. I haven't got them in other one yet because I haven't. There, look. Look at that. Isn't it nice?
Look at him
Little
there.
carriage lights. I feel right homely with them, you know.
I know, aren't they lovely? We've got another one up there.
I haven't got any lights in this one though, because I've no fairy lights. I need to buy some more.
And so it's epic. And so, yeah, the storage solution will show you. So this is kind of it. I'll just pull this out to make it look. So we were talking a while back about, so if you're just joining us, we used to have a sink here and we used to have a cupboard there. We've taken that sink out and we've pushed it back. So this now goes quite deep into the boot back there. It's a bit dark to see. But each one of these suitcases now holds different items of clothes. So how good is that?
And we've got some labels we're going to put on them, haven't we? So we know what's in them. Because at the minute it's a bit like, what's that programme you used to watch where you open the box? No Edmonds.
No Edmonds.
What
The
were
box
it?
is right. Play your cards in a box.
I don't know. What would it
Oh,
No,
God.
that's not it. You're just making up words now.
Yeah, it would. It's something to do with a banker.
Oh, you used to have to, anyway.
We used to
it's
ring the
like
banker.
that.
Oh,
we go and we open
deal
the
or
box.
no deal?
The deal or
Get
no
in.
deal. I say, get in. Yeah, it's like that. You get up in the morning, you're like, which box are my trousers in today? But I have got these little labels that are coming. They're like little metal ones, and you put a little piece of cardboard in them, so that then you see, clever here. We can change them labels up if we get to like summer, winter, can take the jumpers out, you know, we can change them up. So we've got to do that. We still need to get the sink in, which is why we've got the bowl on the shelf. That won't be there. That'll be actually, we're going to put a sink in the corner, so we've still got to do that yet. We're going to fit like a little round sink into the corner, and then we've still got some cupboards to fit in on the left. And we've still got, we're hoping we're going to get a fridge on the right.
Yeah, just down
we're
here.
hoping we're going to get that. There is a whole thing about the fridge, which we will get onto on another vlog, but we are currently looking for any recommendations for a good, slim, small fridge that works well when you're abroad. In hot, in the heat. So basically it will go much further below ambient temperature. We're looking for something like that. So I know the Domestics are great and we're probably going to go with that. But if anybody's got any other recommendations, go for it. But yeah, so we're getting there, aren't we, with it?
We're getting there. We've still got a lot we want to do on Romany.
Got little doors to put on,
yeah, but she's becoming... Yeah, so we're going to get little doors across here. Because when the bed, that wall, if you haven't seen us before, falls down, this room here then becomes the bed. And with the doors on, that'll be an enclosed bedroom, meaning little Daisy don't fall out of bed, which is a lot of our worry.
We've got us little good vibes.
Oh, yeah, if you watched our Whitby vlog, we bought this, or Emma bought this, that's gone up. So we're getting there with her. We've still got a lot to do, but we are getting there. Oh, and you said, we asked you, Lenny's just completely gone out. We've been chatting away that much, she's gone out. But we asked you to name Lenny's little friend that sits on top of Lenny. And what this little fan does is when Lenny gets really hot and I can't breathe inside the van, this little fella makes it even hotter. And Emma were like, oh, it's great because it makes it warmer. So we asked you, because we name everything, and I'm going to come to that in a second. We asked you to name what this little fan were going to be called, and I think I counted about 70 different suggestions, and they were all absolutely incredible. And the one that I was like, yeah, it has to be this. Like, it was just like, nope, there's no kind of competition, nothing, it has to be this. And that is Wilson the Windmill, because if you've seen the film Castaway, it looks just like Wilson. And that was Carl, I think, comment if it were you, because I've got it written down on a piece of paper over there who it was, but I think it was Carl commented that Wilson, because it looks just like Wilson, the little ball from that film Castaway. So he is now called Wilson the Windmill. So we've got Lenny the burner, Wilson the windmill, Gretel the kettle, Daisy the dog, Emma the wife, and everything's named. And the reason everything's named in a van, and it kind of comes full circle to what we've just been talking about reflecting on what 13 years of van life has taught us. And I know it's funny to name things, right? And we do give things names, and it's funny, but actually, it comes from each item in a van is so important to you. And it's such a crucial part of your life where you've got to think about each item as being an essential part of your life, that it becomes almost part of the family because you've thought so much about... Gretel the Kettle's been with us for about 4 years now.
Yeah, but Reese, I can't even remember
and
the kids'
that's why
names.
I like naming things, Emma.
I struggle to remember the kids' names and I get them mixed up with the
do.
dog, and now I've got to remember it. You're just giving me more names to remember.
It's easy, Emma. But that, is why I like to name things, because every little item is so important in a van. And I just like naming stuff. I just like things to have names. I don't know why. Leave me alone. Talking about Gretel the kettle, if you saw my YouTube community post the other day, a little spout came off. So she's already been dropped once, bless her, and she's got a dint in around the other side. I'm not going to touch her because she's hot, so I've just made a brew. But then Emma dropped her again, and a little spout's come off. So
I've been told though
look at this.
that
It's
you can,
there.
if we take the rest of it off, we can get a spout that just fits over the top. Somebody put a link to something on Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. Somebody
You can
messaged
just
us. I think it
shove
was
it on.
Andy that messaged us and said, so she needs a new spout. And we also need to talk about the merch.
The merch. So I've tried to email, I hope I have, I've tried to email everybody and get back to everybody that sent us, and we didn't expect to get so many messages.
Took us by
Oh
surprise
my
just
God,
a little
my
bit, didn't
life.
it?
What have we done? But I've tried to message everybody back and let them know. So we're going to be sending a payment link out. That'll be literally like you probably will have received it by the time you're watching this, and if you haven't, it'll be coming out to you really quickly. Once we get the payments through on there, then via that payment link we'll then have your address on the payment link, so we'll be posting things out as soon as possible. There are certain things which we've already said which will take a bit longer, so the rugs are going to take a bit longer because they take a while to be produced, so they'll take a little bit longer to get out to you, and it might be a few weeks before we can get them out to you. We're hoping that everything else, certainly people who want like stickers and bracelets, they will be out to you straight away. That you'll definitely get them before Christmas. In terms of the cups, we're hoping that we can get them out to you before Christmas, but again, we have to get them made so that we can then send them out to you. We're not made of money and we can't carry around tons of cups in the van. So we basically have to kind of get them made as people have given us the order, and then we'll go pick that up and then we'll post them straight back out again. So we're having to do it like that at the moment until we get a shop front set up. And it is my fault, is that really, because I didn't want to set a shop front up because it does tend to cost more because the organisation that sets the shop front up takes a percentage and da da da. So I was trying to do it as cheaply as I could for everybody really, so you don't have to spend as much money. So because we're all about trying to keep things a bargain, aren't we? So we are going to do it this way for now, and then I am going to have to give in and look at getting a shop front thing set up.
It's
so
just
you
gone
can
mad,
order,
hasn't it?
yeah, just so then you can order directly and it will be shipped out directly to you, and we're not really kind of a part of it. At the moment we're playing the middleman with it, but we wouldn't really be a part of it. It would just get shipped directly out to you, but it will end up obviously costing a little bit more. So if you've got in there already, well done, because you'll have got a bit of a bargain, and we'll get them out to you as soon as we possibly can, and we'll keep you updated via email. And thanks for all your inquiries on it. I'm overwhelmed.
Talking of Gretel the kettle, somebody wrote a poem for Gretel the kettle about her being broken.
Oh,
So we're gonna read that out. I'll probably read it on Tuesday in Tuesday's vlog. So if you're new here, we're Emma, Reese and Daisy. I always forget to introduce us. Like I always forget that some people might not know our names. And we travel all across the UK and Europe in this van called Romany. So we do Tuesdays is usually travel style vlogs, or we're exploring a town and things like that. And then Fridays is this basically. We call it Fireside Fridays, and we sit in front of little Lenny and we just chat about all things van life and the realities of van life and the ups and downs of van life and stuff like that. So I've got the poem written down, and I thought I'd read it out on.
oh, it's amazing.
It's
isn't
incredible. So thank you. And I'm going to read that out on Tuesday's vlog, I think. Yeah, I'll read it Tuesday just because today is supposed to be short and sweet and very topical about helping people, you know, that might want to start van life on this 13-year thing. So I'll do it. I'll do that on
And we're
Tuesday.
a bit rubbish at not wittering
And
already,
yeah,
aren't
we
we?
just witter and witter and witter. And it's like, I'm sure most of you thinking, come on, shut up and get to the point, Reese. But yeah, we're going to do that. And
Just before, I want to just show this.
what do you want to show?
I want to show this. So my friend, Vicky, gave me this. How beautiful is this?
It's cute, isn't it?
I actually need to stick back on. I had a little tree of life on it as well, but that's fallen off and I need to stick it back on. It comes with a little poem as well. It's what just reminded me when you said poem. Comes with a little poem about how it keeps away all of the negative things from your door. So you point it in the direction of your door, so that then it sweeps away all of the negativity from coming inside my van.
Cute, isn't it?
I'm absolutely just, I love stuff like that. And I just kind of, I suppose, just really, really quickly, because Reese always looks at me like, Emma, you're wittering on and we've only got so much time. But I really just want to say as well, with Christmas coming up, just stuff like that mean the world to people. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to cost the earth. It means the world to me, and I will treasure that forever. So think about things like that, especially if you're in a van, you're on a low budget, you're worrying about affording Christmas and stuff. And think about that as well if you're on low budget in a house, you know. Don't go out worrying about like what you've got to get people and all that sort of stuff. And if people are living in a van and you're trying to buy for somebody living in a van, think very carefully about what you're getting them as well, because they don't have much space. So again, you don't need to spend an absolute fortune on things. You know, small little things can be really good.
Daisy, oh, that was good timing. You want to say hello to YouTube?
Say hello.
Hello, YouTube. You've got so many fans, haven't you now? Yeah? She's been much better this last couple of days, haven't you, chicken? Yeah?
You said chicken. She thinks she's getting...
Oh, no, you're not getting any chicken.
Can get some chicken. Want some chicken? You want some chicken? You want a sausage?
Emma says I've got to cut my hand on this light because it stops the light hitting down. I have no idea how hot that actually is. It's literally burning my hand, Emma.
When you stood over there, you looked like one of them miners with a light on your head. It was shining off your forehead. The lighting in here is terrible for filming. It's really bad.
So yeah, talking about getting gifts, that's I think what we're going to do on Tuesday. Is we've got an idea of that, because coming up to Christmas we are now in the Yorkshire area, visiting friends, visiting families, staying on a couple of driveways outside families, members' houses, that kind of thing. So we are in the Yorkshire area, so that's going to be Tuesday's travel vlog. I won't give too much away, but I think it's going to be a fun vlog, Christmas-esque, because we are, guys, coming up to Christmas. We've got to face the reality that you're going to have to go out and buy your Brussels sprouts. The time has come for that to happen. So you can no longer say, Reese, don't, it's not yet. It has started, and it is Christmas time, and I am going to have sprouts. So we've got lots of different Christmas episodes coming up while we're in the Yorkshire area. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been helpful for somebody that's maybe starting van life, or maybe you've just found it interesting. If you have and you've enjoyed it, give us a like, give us a hype. It helps push our little channel out.
Get that hype button.
Get that hype button.
Get it
and
hit.
if you comment in the comments whether you've enjoyed it, YouTube have just rolled out a new feature where I and Emma are now able to voice message back. So we might do that for some of you and give you a voice message back when you comment. But thank you so much for watching. If you want to join our community as well, hit that subscribe button and join in our little community and all the rest of your YouTube homework. And we'll see you on Tuesday at 8 PM. And until then, guys, keep writing your own story. Thanks for watching.